Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're going to explore the moment a simple day out, one white dress, one unexpected promise, and one bustling market quietly changes everything for Tieu and Truong. If you enjoy the story, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. Under the soft afternoon sun, Truong takes off after Dewey as the boy darts ahead, laughing so hard his voice cracks. "Run faster," Truong calls out, pretending he's about to catch him. Dewey squeals and zigzags like he's got wings on his feet. A few steps behind them, Tieu watches with a quiet smile that keeps growing, like her chest can't hold all the happiness swelling inside. For a moment, everything feels light. The air is warm, their laughter bounces around, and even the world seems to slow down just to let them enjoy it. Dewey makes a dramatic sprint, throws his arms up like he's won a race, and Truong pretends to be out of breath, bending over with both hands on his knees. Dewey immediately runs back, patting Truong's shoulder like a tiny coach. Tieu can't help it. She laughs too, a soft sound that surprises even her. Then Truong reaches out, and Tieu takes his hand almost without thinking. They start running too, not as fast as Dewey, but together, hand in hand, moving in the same rhythm. It's playful, but there's something else underneath it. Like a small shift you can't explain with words. The kind of shift where play turns into something steadier, warmer. She feels it in her fingers where his hand holds hers, secure, certain. And just like that, the scene turns. Their running slows, their laughter fades into the background, and the day gently nudges them towards something more ordinary. Shopping, errands, the normal world. The store is bright and cool, the kind of place that makes you straighten your shoulders without realizing it. Truong walks ahead with easy confidence, like he belongs anywhere he goes. Tieu follows with Dewey, who's already distracted by everything. Colours, lights, shelves, people. Truong glances back and points toward a section of dresses. "Come here," he says, his voice casual, like it's no big deal. Then he picks up a white dress and holds it up in front of her. "You suit white." Tieu freezes for half a second. White? She looks down at her own clothes, suddenly aware of herself, of her hands, of how she's standing. A shy smile flickers across her face. "No, I don't know," she murmurs, half wanting to refuse, half wanting to believe him. But Truong doesn't push with words. He just looks at her like it's obvious, like she deserves to try it, and that's the end of it. So she takes the dress and walks toward the fitting room, heart thumping in a way that feels childish and grown up at the same time. Inside the little room, she changes slowly, fingers trembling slightly as she pulls the fabric into place. When she finally turns to face the mirror, she doesn't recognize herself right away. The white isn't just white, it's clean, bright, hopeful. It makes her skin look softer, her posture look taller. It makes her look like someone who belongs in a happy life. She stares, swallowing hard. For years, she's carried insecurity like it was part of her body, like she couldn't put it down even for 1 minute. But in that mirror, in that dress, she sees something else. Not a different person, still her, but a version of her that isn't only shaped by old regrets. She steps out, and Truong looks up at exactly the right moment. His expression changes, just a flicker, but enough. He smiles, and it's not teasing this time. "It fits," he says simply, "really fits." Tieu's cheeks burn. She turns a little, then a little more, letting the skirt move with her. She feels almost silly, like a child pretending to be a princess. But then she hears Truong's quiet laugh. Not mocking, just warm. And she relaxes, letting herself enjoy the moment. For her, this isn't just trying on a dress. It's the first time she's worn something like this out in the world, in front of strangers, in a crowded place. The first time she's let herself be seen without shrinking. Nearby, Dewey pops up like a surprised bird. His shirt is damp from earlier, sticking to his back in that uncomfortable way kids always seem to ignore until suddenly they don't. He tugs at it and complains loudly. "Uncle Truong, get shirt for me. Truong groans dramatically. You again? But he's already turning, already moving to find something dry, something comfortable. Tieu watches, and her heart tightens in a way she can't explain. It's such a small thing, buying a shirt, answering a child's call, but it feels like proof of something, like a promise. They pay at the counter. Truong holds the bag without asking, like it naturally belongs in his hand. Tieu stands beside him, still feeling the softness of the moment on her skin. The store noise hums around them, the city pressing in where earlier nature had echoed. The open air is gone, now it's glass doors, bright lights, crowded aisles, yet the closeness between them remains. As they walk, the pressure she's carried for so long hovers at the edge of her thoughts. The fear of separation, the worry that good moments don't last. She tries to enjoy what's happening now, but a piece of her keeps whispering, what if this is temporary? At home, she'll take the dress off. She'll fold it carefully, she'll put it away like a treasure. But will it stay a treasure? Or will it become another reminder of what she almost had? She doesn't say any of this. She just walks, her hand sometimes brushing Truong's arm, her eyes following Dui's excited steps. Their laughter from earlier still echoes in her mind, like a song she doesn't want to end. Dui suddenly runs up and kisses Truong on the cheek, then kisses his mother too, like he's spreading happiness as a job. Tieu laughs, but it comes with a sting behind it. She looks at the bag in Truong's hand, thinking of money, thinking of cost. It's not necessary, her voice says quietly. Truong looks at her, firm but gentle. I wanted to, that's all. No long explanation, no dramatic speech. Just those 3 words that make her chest feel both heavy and warm. The day continues and the story shifts again, into food, into warmth, into a different kind of intimacy. In a cozy grill restaurant, the air is thick with sizzling sounds and fragrant smoke. Truong orders a full grill set like he's done it 100 times. Tieu joins him to fetch side dishes, reaching for eggplant and vegetables, trying to be useful because that's what she's always done, making herself needed so she can feel like she belongs. Truong starts grilling the beef, turning it carefully. Be careful, he reminds her, nodding toward the hot surface. Don't burn yourself. She nods quickly, almost too quickly, like a student. But then he looks up and his face becomes more serious, softer. Today marks 1 year we've known each other, he says. The words land heavier than she expects. 1 year. She blinks, confused for a second by how fast time moved. Then her eyes sting. Tears rise suddenly without permission. Truong freezes, alarmed. Hey, what's wrong? Tieu wipes at her cheeks, embarrassed, but the tears keep coming. I don't know, she whispers, voice shaking. I used to be alone, a poor single mother, and now... She looks at him like she's afraid the moment will vanish if she says it out loud. Now I'm happy beside you. Truong's throat moves as he swallows. He doesn't joke. He doesn't brush it off. He just looks at her with that steady gaze again, the one that feels like safety. Thank you, he says quietly. Then, after a beat, and I'm sorry if I didn't care for you well enough. The smoke from the grill curls upward between them, drifting like a soft curtain. It feels symbolic, like old hardships dissolving into the air, thinning out, disappearing little by little. They eat. She eats until she's full, surprised by how comfortable she feels. She drinks orange juice, then bites sweet watermelon. The fresh taste so different from the heaviness she's carried through so many days. Truong eats too, but she can see the tiredness tucked behind his eyes, the work pressure he doesn't always talk about. The perspective feels close, like the camera is right there at the table, catching every shift. Her shoulders relaxing, his hand pausing on the tongs, the way their eyes meet and linger longer than before. The meal starts as simple dining, but it turns into something deeper, something that feels like a quiet vow. She helps him grill, the sizzling sounds loud and constant. The restaurant around them is noisy, voices, clinking plates, laughter from other tables, but inside their small circle there's a strange peace. At one point she says, It's delicious, and Truong smiles. Eat more, he tells her, almost like he enjoys seeing her enjoy something. He talks about feeling like family with her, even if they aren't married. Tieunu's heart jumps at the word family. She nods too fast again, eyes bright, promising happiness as if she can somehow guarantee it just by saying it. Truong drinks coffee, explaining he needs it to stay alert because his job is brainy, the kind that drains you quietly. She listens, fascinated, proud of him, and also worried, because she knows what it's like to be exhausted, just in a different way. She mentions Dui, regret flickering across her face. It's a pity he's not here today. Truong reaches across the table, not grabbing her hand, but resting his fingers near hers. Next time, he says, we'll take the whole family. That word again. Family. It wraps around her like warmth. Later, Truong stands and washes the dishes, and Tieu watches him, feeling the strange contrast. The busy restaurant, the smoke, the noise, yet her heart feels calm, like she's finally inside something stable. He pays. She waits, bag in hand, mind racing with gratitude and fear all at once. They share dessert, sharing the last bites without thinking, as if it's natural to split sweetness between them. And beneath everything, the laughter, the food, the gifts, there's a stronger truth taking shape. The bond between them is changing, deepening, becoming something that can stand against pressure. There's nostalgia too, but not only for playful innocence. There's nostalgia for her old self, the woman who survived alone, who carried everything by herself. Because even though that life was painful, it was familiar. This new warmth is beautiful, but it's also terrifying, because now there's something to lose. Still, as the day settles and their connection feels stronger than before, optimism pushes through. Their story keeps moving forward, balancing fleeting joys with the growing weight of commitment, and the camera stays close, catching every glance, every breath, every quiet promise that says, maybe this time it can last. At the coffee table afterward, everything slows down again. The busy restaurant is behind them, replaced by a calmer space where light music drifts softly and the air feels less heavy. Truong sits across from Tieu with a cup of coffee, stirring it once, then looking up like he's about to share a small life lesson. Coffee helps you stay alert, he explains. It keeps your mind awake. Tieu watches him closely. She's quiet for a moment, then she blurts out something that's been sitting in her chest all day. I want to learn English, she says, so I can communicate with foreigners. Truong pauses, surprised, then his face warms with approval. Really? That's good. He leans forward as if he's already planning the steps. I'll buy you books, and I can teach you. The promise makes her blink. It's such a simple sentence, but it feels like a door unlocking. She nods quickly, then laughs a little, embarrassed by how excited she feels. Truong reaches for a book and taps the cover. This one's good, he says, by Okawa Yuki. It's about responsibility. She repeats the name carefully, Okawa Yuki, like she doesn't want to misplace it. Then she opens the book and tries reading, eyes moving slowly across the lines. At first her brows pinch together, then her expression softens. It's interesting, she whispers, surprised that the words pull her in instead of pushing her away. Truong smiles. See? He turns a page with his fingertip, patient and steady. Some books are like encouragement. They remind you you're not helpless. They teach you how to stand up again. Tieu listens the way someone listens to water in a drought. She hesitates, then admits in a small voice, I only studied to grade 4. For a second she expects pity, that awkward look people give when they don't know what to say. But Truong's response is calm, almost firm. Then we start from there, he says. No rush, one book at a time. He flips to another part and begins telling her stories connected to the ideas in the book. About work, about responsibility, about people who carried big burdens. He mentions Uncle Ho, not as a speech, but like a reference point, a way to make the lesson feel real. Tieu nods, absorbing everything, and the more she listens, the less ashamed she feels. They end up looking at pictures too, faces of Japanese founders, images tied to history. Truong shows her a photo of a person on a yen bill, explaining who it is and why it matters. Tieu laughs, half amazed. "So money has stories too," she says, eyes widening. "Strange." Truong chuckles. "Everything has stories. That's why language helps. English makes it easier when you meet the world outside." That line hits her. She doesn't say much, but inside desire rises like a quiet fire. Not only to speak English, but to feel capable. To feel like her mind can grow, not just her responsibilities. She takes a sip of orange juice and jokes to soften the mood. "This is for skin beauty, right?" Truong laughs. "Yes, drink it." Then he taps the book again. "But this is for confidence." Confidence. The word settles into her like warmth. Outside, the street noise moves past. Motorbikes, voices, life rushing. Yet at the table there's peace, like their small corner is protected. She realizes she likes this feeling, learning without being judged, dreaming without being laughed at. A little regret slips out. "We don't go out much," she says quietly, like she's afraid of asking for too much. Truong answers quickly, as if it's already decided. "We will. I'll make you familiar with the atmosphere. You'll get used to it." She nods, and her throat tightens because she believes him. The time edges forward, and by around 16 o'clock the day starts shifting again. They still need to buy things for Dewey. Real life is waiting, as always. But as she stands up, Tieu feels different, like her world expanded just enough to let new possibilities breathe. The market hits them like a wave. Heat presses down, voices overlap, stalls spill colour in every direction. Truong moves with purpose, heading straight for the fruit section. He buys grapefruits, checking them like someone who knows what he's doing. Tieu sits waiting nearby, fanning herself, watching the crowd swirl. A kid at the stall grins and holds out a sample. "Try it," the kid insists, proud. Tieu takes a piece, and the sweetness surprises her. It's fragrant, juicy, refreshing. The kind of taste that makes you close your eyes for a second. She smiles and without thinking shares another piece with Truong. The kid laughs, pleased, and the seller lady watches them with that friendly market curiosity. Tieu cuts one grapefruit open more neatly, offering slices to a woman nearby too. The small gesture turns into a tiny burst of laughter, like the market itself approves. For a moment, the heat doesn't matter. The noise doesn't bother her. The sweetness feels symbolic, like life is finally giving her something gentle after so many hard years. Then her eyes catch something bright across the aisle. Colourful fabric, bold patterns, detailed stitching. A stall is selling Hmong ethnic costume, and the seller lady immediately notices Tieu interest. "Try it," the lady calls, lifting up a set. "So beautiful, like a princess." Tieu's first instinct is to refuse. She almost shakes her head, almost steps back into her safe invisibility. But the word princess lands on that new hope inside her. The same hope that showed up in the white dress. The same hope that's been growing all day. She glances at Truong, shy, asking without words. Truong just nods. "Try," he says simply. So she goes behind the curtain, changes quickly, heart beating fast. When she steps out, the costume fits better than she expects. The colours make her look alive, and the fabric moves beautifully when she turns. She twirls once, small, hesitant, then again, more confident. The kid claps. "Cute," the kid says, laughing. Tieu laughs too, cheeks burning, but she doesn't hide. She looks at Truong, waiting for his reaction like it matters more than anything. He smiles, steady and sure. "It suits you." That's it. No long praise, just truth. And somehow that truth feels like permission to believe in herself. "I'll buy it," she says, surprising even herself. They pack the items. Truong asks about harvest time, and the seller lady answers that it's not yet the season. Truong buys 4 grapefruits anyway. Tieu instantly thinks of Dewey, how she'll bring the fruit home, how his face will light up, how she'll tell him about the market and the costume and the tasting. As they move through the crowd, Tieu reaches for the bags. "I can carry," she insists out of habit. Truong shakes his head and lifts them like it's nothing. "No, I'll hold." It's such a small moment, but it hits her hard. It says, "You don't have to do everything alone anymore." They pause at a table to rest. Truong sits, Tieu stands beside him, watching the market continue its loud dance around them. The kid keeps selling fast, proud and energetic, and Tieu smiles, telling the kid, "You're professional," like she's cheering on a young worker. She almost forgets one of the bags, distracted by the noise and the warmth of the day. Truong catches it immediately, lifting it up. "You forgot," he says. She laughs, embarrassed. "I'm distracted." "Clearly," he teases, and she rolls her eyes, but her heart feels light. A quiet nostalgia settles in as the day winds down. Not sadness, just that bittersweet feeling when you know a good moment is ending. The opposition is still there. Today's playful freedom versus tomorrow's responsibilities. Yet for once, the pressure doesn't win. Hope does. On the way home, the market noise fades behind them. Tieu touches the fabric of the Hmong ethnic costume through the bag and murmurs, "It fits better than I thought." Truong nods, calm. "I told you." And with that, the day closes gently. They go home with full hands and fuller hearts, carrying sweetness, colour, and a stronger bond that feels ready to face whatever comes next.